Welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Axion.
I'm Sint.
And we're back in Mario Adventure. You know what that means.
Where you're gonna die 16 times before this episode's over?
Yes, but also, it means we're doing another old-timey fairy tale.
Yep. But I don't know the name of this one.
Well, that would be a problem, considering that's one of the most important parts of the story.
Yep.
But we'll just start from the beginning. You see, this particular story begins with a bit of, well-intentioned hubris. As if there's any other kind. There happened to be, once upon a time, a miller. And this miller was just, just an average guy. But he did happen to have a particularly beautiful daughter. And as fathers are wont to do, this miller tended to brag about his daughter whenever he got the chance. Unfortunately, the miller decided that just bragging my daughter is really good looking and very nice wasn't good enough. So, instead, he told people that his daughter was so incredibly skilled that she could spin straw into gold.
So it's probably obvious which fairy tale we're actually talking about, so we should probably rest the joke for now.
Yep, we are talking about Rumpelstiltskin by the Brothers Grimm, or at least most notably collated by the Brothers Grimm. Finally. So, as I'm sure many are pretty familiar, in the story of Rumpelstiltskin, the miller brags about his daughter being able to spin straw into gold.
Yep.
This news, as rumor is wont in these sorts of, medieval stories are inclined to do. Oh, a whistle. I don't really need a whistle. The rumor eventually makes its way up the societal ladder and reaches the king. Well, any king worth his salt is going to be super interested in someone who can basically make him free gold from something as plentiful as straw. Oh, it's just a respawn pipe. So the king, as again kings are wont to do, well, kidnaps the miller's daughter, puts her in a room full of straw, and tells her, "You will spin all of this straw into gold by tomorrow morning, or I will execute you. I won't execute your father, the person who told me that you could do this and was probably lying. I will kill you." So, of course, the miller's daughter can't spin straw into gold. That's not a thing that most normal people can do. This isn't D&D where a miller's daughter might have like some kind of latent sorcery powers that let her turn straw into gold that she doesn't know she has. But what it is a fairy tale. And in fairy tales, there are fairies. Or at least little old men who meet the definition of fairy by any other means. Ah, that's what I needed.
Yep.
So,
of course, he's not going to do it for free, so she gives him her necklace.
yep, he asks. This little old man shows up and asks the miller's daughter, "What will you give me to deal with this problem for you," basically. And having a fairly precious, possibly some kind of fine metal like gold, or maybe just has sentimental value, she has a necklace that she agrees to use to pay the strange little man for his services. Yes, I know, I'm running out of time. I don't care. You were talking about dying a bunch. Here we are.
I know how these Mario games go.
Didn't die! At least not right now. Anyway, this happens again the next day. The king comes in the morning, sees that the girl has accomplished the impossible task that he has given her, but that's not good enough, because now the king is seeing dollar signs, or more accurately, spools of woven gold. He puts her in another room, an even larger one filled with even more straw, and repeats his threat. "Spin all this into gold by morning, or I will execute you." Of course, the girl has about the same reaction as previous. She panics, she cries. The little old man shows up and makes her the same offer. She gives him a gold ring. But unfortunately, she is a poor miller's daughter, and the number of interesting treasures she possesses is very limited. And unfortunately, the king is very greedy. Ah! Why is it falling turtles? The king puts the girl in... Probably more accurate to say woman, but every text that I listened to said girl. But the miller's daughter into a room one last time. Larger yet again than the second. Oh, great, and now there's ice. And filled with yet even more straw, to the point of nearly bursting the room. Speaking of dying a million times. But this time he comes up with a different threat. If she fails to accomplish as he has been promised and spin the room's straw into gold, he will kill her, as promised. But if she does it, and successfully pulls this off a third time, he will marry her and make her his queen. Unfortunately, as I just stated, the poor girl is out of treasures. So when the strange little man shows up, and one third time offers to spin straw into gold for her, she has nothing with which to pay him. An autoscroller with bombs and fish. Why? I got the mushroom. Stupid.
Rip. So I might have been a little stingy with my 16.
You're 16?
I said you were going to die 16 times before the episode was over.
Oh.
Yeah, she has nothing left to give him, no more jewelry, doesn't think of anything else, because, well, how about a shoe, how about hair, but, you know, we'll stick with the jewelry. So she says, I don't have anything I can give you. Mystery Man says, okay, give me your kid.
Yep.
I don't have a kid. Yeah, when he gets there. Yeah, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to live till the morning if I don't do this, so I'll make this deal. Which, really, what choice do you have at that point?
Pretty much. Yep. He's like, I can wait. You're going to become queen tomorrow, because I'm going to do this for you. When you do, you and the king will have a child, and you will give me your firstborn. So, he does the job, she lives, and the king, good to his word, marries her the next day. And all is well for a year. Long enough for the king and queen to have their first child. I really hate these stinking turtles.
Predictably, our friend comes back to be like, hey, so about that deal you made me.
Yep, she'd completely forgotten about him in the space of the year she'd been queen. But he showed up just on time, exactly a year later. Just after the child was born. Of course, the queen is loath to, predictably, just hand over her kid, despite the promise she'd made. And with more of the same sort of sobbing and begging that got him to give her his assistance in the first place, he comes up with an alternative solution. He says that he will spare her the debt she owes him if she can guess his name in 3 days. Of course, she starts with all of the common names that one might associate with whatever version of the story you're listening to or reading. So, the original story was in German, so a lot of the original guesses are very common Germanic names. When the story is translated, it's often substituted for names that are particularly common in whatever language it's translated to. Most English versions will start with things like John, Tom, Will, things like that. Common English names. First day passes, no successes, and the queen sends out her agents, for lack of a better word, I can't remember the actual term that the thing used, like messengers, to basically take a survey of the kingdom and find out what all possible names are. In the original German, and in a lot of the early translations, the second day is full of her guessing names like... They sound like food and weird dishes.
Wasn't one of them short rib?
Yes! And a few other things like that, because they've run through all of the normal names. They're grabbing, like, weird things people have named their pets, and things like that.
Would you like me to tell you something that you won't like, but you probably won't disagree with?
What?
A way to do this viably today would be to open DeviantArt and type in Sonic OC.
Thanks, I hate it. I remember okay, I just made it worse because I was about to say, I remember we used to do a thing where you Google your first name plus the Hedgehog, or plus Sonic OC, and you always got something, usually multiple responses if your name was particularly common, like both of ours are. And then I remembered, yeah, we did that back in, like, 2014, 2015. It's been 10 years.
Okay, you will be relieved to hear this. I am not getting any relevant hits for Rumpelstiltskin the Hedgehog.
Now try Rumpelstiltskin Sonic OC.
Do you really want me to?
You know what? Sure, I'm morbidly curious.
Nope, not really.
You know what? I'll take it. That's a victory. Anyway.
Now that I put this mind virus on you.
I was more like, oh, it's been 10 years since that game, quote-unquote, came out. I'm
Probably
feeling
longer.
old.
Wait, when did you say you did this?
2014, 2015?
Okay. I imagine it's been around sooner.
That was when I heard of it, but yes, it probably existed before then that I just wasn't aware of. Anyway, second day, as stated, is essentially wasted with bad guesses based on everything that the queen can get her hands on because she's desperate.
The Queen could also take a note from the Witchfinder General's book of names, to which he kept adding things like spatula to get more funding.
And that's what one of the videos that we watched in preparation for this suggested, was that some of the weirder names were probably one of her agents looking to pad out his list while also being...
I think he was joking.
Yes, I'm aware that he was joking. That's the joke. Was that the whole thing was that silly? I hate fighting these guys in the water.
It was going swimmingly.
However, early in the morning on the third day, one of the Queen's agents returns with good news. Having completed his rounds, he had decided to take a walk in the forest during the dark of night, before reporting back to the castle with the list of names that he had acquired. And while in the forest, he had happened across the campsite of a strange little man, dancing in the dark around the flames and under the moonlight, singing. And the little man said something along those lines. The exact translation and wording varies from version to version, especially based on whether or not you're using a more literal translation of the original German, or if the translator or collator reworked it in English or whatever other language you're using to flow better. Because, like, the original translation in German doesn't rhyme in English, but I'm sure it does in German. Oh, this is going to be much easier. But, many of the translations I have seen... I almost had it! Many of the translations I have seen and read, or listened to, as the case may be, reworded things so that it rhymes and flows better in English. So, the Strange Little Man's song goes something along the lines of, "Tonight I dance and celebrate, tomorrow I'll go and claim the Queen's babe. Naught can beat me at my game, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name." Of course, this gives the Queen the one piece she needs to solve this puzzle and win her bet with the Strange Little Man. And lo and behold, he arrives promptly after her agent messenger departs, arriving to begin the third and final day of guessing names before he may claim the child. The Queen has the sense to not show her hand immediately, guessing a few random sounding names, depending on your version again. she either just goes back to very generic sounding people names or something that is in some way similar or relevant to the nature of the little man. But then she drops a bombshell and actually guesses Rumpelstiltskin. And here again is where several versions of the story differ. In the version we listened to, or at least the one that I listened to, Rumpelstiltskin immediately begins stomping his feet angrily to the point where he breaks through the floor, and then in his attempt to pull himself out of the hole he's made, he tears himself in half. Other versions I've heard or seen say that he ran away, screaming in anger, fleeing the castle, and leaving the queen to her triumph. And still others say that he disappeared in a puff of smoke or disappeared into flames and ash. Ooh, that is getting crowded. That is making the game lag. There we go. But that ends the little man's threat upon the lives of the queen and her child. And they live happily ever after. And that is the story of Rumpelstiltskin.
Yep, pretty simple little story. It's kind of a weird one for as far as fairy tales go, because there's not really a clear moral.
Yeah, you can theoretically infer one, but...
Yeah, but we can talk about that more later when we get into the actual, like, usual business of the channel.
Yep. So we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.